My dear friends, have you ever made plans in life that life completely ignored? A pause, you planned to go left, life took a U turn. You planned to climb a mountain and ended up falling into a puddle. A smile, and then we ask, God, what's your plan in all this? Sometimes God's plans are like a Wi-Fi signal, invisible but powerful. You may not always see it, but when you stay connected, it changes everything. My dear friends, when we talk about our plan versus God's plan, it's almost like comparing a child's drawing to an architect's blueprint. Both have intention, both have imagination, but one has limited understanding and the other sees the full structure. We humans make plans with the little information we have. We see what's in front of us, maybe what's around the corner. But God, He sees the entire path, the obstacles, the dangers, and the blessings that life are beyond our sight. Think about it. How many times have we said, "This is it. This is exactly what I want in life," only to realize later that what we wanted was too small, too temporary, too fragile. Sometimes we chase something so badly, a job, a relationship, a dream, and when it doesn't work out, we feel betrayed by life. We cry, we complain, we question God. But years later, we look back and whisper, "Thank you, God, for not giving me what I wanted." That's the beauty of God's plan. He doesn't give us what we want, He gives us what we need. And the gap between those two is where faith is tested. You see, our plan is often about immediate comfort, but God's plan is about ultimate growth. We want things to be easy, He wants us to be strong. We want success now, He wants maturity first. We want answers instantly, He wants to teach us patience. Let me share something simple. Imagine a child who wants to touch fire because it looks beautiful and bright. From the child's eyes, it seems harmless, even magical. But the parent, knowing better, says no. The child cries, throws tantrums, feels rejected, but the parent doesn't stop loving the child. The no wasn't punishment, it was protection. That's how God deals with us. Every closed door, every failed plan, every unexpected turn is His way of saying, "My child, I see what you can't see." But here's the challenge: we live in a world where control is worshipped. We're taught to plan every detail, to calculate, to forecast, to manage everything. And that's fine. Planning is good. But the problem begins when we believe our plan is the only plan that should work. That's where disappointment grows. That's where anxiety starts. Because we try to play God in our own lives. My friends, life is not a GPS where you put in the destination and reach it the same way every time. It's more like sailing. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. And sometimes, God changes the direction of the wind not to destroy your ship, but to take you to a better shore. When you trust God's plan, you learn to live peacefully even in uncertainty. You begin to say, "I don't know where this is going, but I know who's guiding me." You stop demanding explanations and start cultivating faith. You stop asking, "Why?" and start saying, "Thank you." Because faith is not believing God will do what you want. Faith is believing that whatever He does is for your best. There's a story I often love to recall. A man once found a cocoon of a butterfly. He sat and watched it struggle to come out. Feeling sorry for the butterfly, he decided to help. He gently tore open the cocoon so it could come out easily. But when the butterfly emerged, its wings were weak, its body swollen. It never learned to fly. The struggle it was trying to escape was part of God's plan to make its wings strong enough for the journey ahead. Isn't that how we are? We want to skip the struggle, avoid the pain, and still expect strength. But God's plan allows the struggle not to break us, but to build us. So, the next time your plan doesn't work out, smile a little. Because maybe, just maybe, God has written a story far greater than the one you were trying to draft. And remember this: when your plans fail, don't be disappointed. It's not rejection, it's redirection. God's plan doesn't cancel yours, it completes it. And one day, you look back at every closed door, every heartbreak, every delay, and say, "No, I understand. That was never a loss. It was a lesson leading me home." My dear friends, one of the greatest tests of faith comes when things don't move according to our timing. We live in an age of speed, fast food, fast internet, fast success. Everything around us screams, now, instantly, immediately. And when something takes longer than we expected, we feel something's wrong with us, with life, or even with God. But my friends, a delay is not a denial. Sometimes the pause is not punishment, it's preparation. You see, when God delays something, it's because He is arranging things we cannot see. We look at one chapter and think the story is over, but God is still writing the next one. We want instant blessings, He wants deep roots. We ask for quick results, He prepares lasting impact. What feels like waiting time to us is working time for God. Think about a seed. When you plant a seed, it doesn't sprout immediately. You water it, nurture it, and for days, maybe weeks, there's no sign of growth. You look at the soil and wonder if anything's even happening beneath the surface. But inside the darkness of that soil, the seed is transforming. It's breaking, growing roots, preparing for the day it will rise. That is exactly how God works. When you feel like nothing's moving, something is. It's just happening under the surface, beyond your sight. But here's what usually happens. We get impatient. We start comparing our journey with others. We see people our age achieving things, getting promotions, getting married, starting businesses, becoming successful. And we look at our own life and ask, God, why am I still waiting? But what we often forget is that everyone's timeline is different. Just because someone blooms in spring doesn't mean your winter is a mistake. Some flowers bloom in the morning, others at night, but both fulfill their purpose beautifully in their own time. There's a lovely story of a man who wanted to help a butterfly come out of its cocoon. Seeing it struggle, he cut open the cocoon so it could escape faster. But the butterfly's wings were weak, and it could never fly. The struggle, the waiting, was part of its growth. The pressure of the cocoon was necessary to push blood into its wings. Without it, it wasn't ready. Likewise, when God delays, He's not ignoring you, He's strengthening your wings. If He gives you what you want too soon, you might not have the capacity to handle it. We often want blessings, but not the maturity that sustains them. We want success, but not the strength to carry it. We want love, but not the patience to nurture it. That's why God sometimes holds things back, not because He doesn't care, but because He cares too much to give us something we're not ready for. His wait is a form of love. His silence is not absence, it's preparation. Think about it this way. If a teacher gives you an exam before teaching the lesson, that's cruelty. But if she makes you wait until you've learned, that's wisdom. God is the same. He delays not to deprive you, but to develop you. Every waiting season has a lesson. Some people use that time to complain, others use it to grow. The wise use it to deepen their faith, because the waiting room of life is where patience, humility, and surrender are born. Sometimes we say, God, I'm ready now. And he smiles and says, I know you think you are, but I'm still working on you and on what's meant for you. The job you didn't get, the relationship that didn't last, the opportunity that didn't open, all of them are part of a bigger orchestration. You might not understand it today, but when the right time comes, everything will fit like pieces of a perfect puzzle. Even in nature, nothing beautiful happens overnight. A diamond takes years under pressure. Gold must be refined in fire. A child takes 9 months before birth. Everything valuable takes time. So why do we expect our dreams to unfold in an instant? God is not a vending machine where you press a button and receive your wish. He's an artist, painting every detail with care, adding every shade with love. When you understand that, your heart becomes peaceful. You stop fighting the waiting season and start learning from it. Because patience doesn't mean doing nothing. It means trusting fully while doing your part. Keep working, keep praying, keep moving, but leave the results to Him. As the saying goes, God's delays are not God's denials. One day, when your dream finally becomes reality, you'll look back and realize why it had to take so long. You'll understand that if it had come earlier, you might have lost it or not valued it. You'll see that the waiting wasn't wasted. It was sacred. It was shaping you, pruning you, refining you, making you ready for what was already yours. So, my friends, if you are waiting today, don't lose hope. Maybe the delay is the very thing saving you. Maybe God is building a foundation so strong that when your blessing comes, it won't crumble. Remember, the delay isn't God's no, it's His loving not yet. And when He finally says no, it will be worth every second you waited. My dear friends, one of the hardest things to understand in life is why doors close. You work hard, you pray, you plan, and yet, suddenly something ends. A job you dreamed of slips away. A relationship you trusted breaks. An opportunity you thought was perfect disappears without explanation. And in that moment, it feels as if God has turned His face away. But what if, in reality, those closed doors are not punishments, they are protection? You see, we humans have limited sight. We can see what looks good, but God knows what is good. Sometimes, what appears as a beautiful opportunity might have hidden pain behind it. What looks like success might have destruction quietly waiting at the end. So when God closes a door, He isn't saying, I don't love you. He's saying, I love you too much to let you walk into something that will hurt you later. Let me share a small story. A young boy once begged his mother to let him play outside in the rain. He cried, pleaded, and even threw a tantrum. The mother, with calm love, refused. The boy thought she was being unfair. But what he didn't know was that the water on the street was contaminated. A drain had overflowed. If he had gone out, he could have fallen sick. To the child, it was rejection. To the mother, it was protection. My friends, that's how God operates. We cry over what we lose, but we don't see what we're being saved from. In life, there are moments when you will feel like something that should have worked didn't. A relationship that had potential suddenly ends. A business that was growing suddenly collapses. A dream you nurtured for years fades away. You stand there confused, broken, asking, why, God? But if you look back after some time, you'll realize that the very door that closed was the reason a better one opened. You were meant to go through the pain so that you could be redirected to purpose. The truth is, if every door remained open, you would never know which path truly belongs to you. Closed doors simplify life. They remove distractions, eliminate illusions, and clarify direction. Sometimes God has to shut down what's good to make space for what's great. And the problem is, we don't see it in the moment because we are emotionally attached to what's being taken away. It's like trying to hold sand in your hands. The tighter you hold, the faster it slips away. Some doors close because you've outgrown them. You prayed for growth, and God said, "Okay, but for that, I need to move you out of this." And then we complain, not realizing that what we call a setback is actually a setup. You see, God's love is not only shown in what He gives, but also in what He takes away. We thank Him for the blessings, but rarely for the rejections. Yet both are equally important, because sometimes rejection is God's redirection. Sometimes a no from heaven means, "I have something better, just wait." I remember once hearing a wise man say, "God doesn't close doors to punish you, He closes them to protect you from rooms that will suffocate your soul." And that's so true. Some places, some people, some opportunities, they are not aligned with your destiny. If you force yourself into them, you might succeed temporarily, but you lose peace permanently. But the challenge is, when a door shuts, our first instinct is to bang on it. We cry, we complain, we even doubt our worth. But what if instead of knocking harder, we took a step back and asked, "God, what are you trying to protect me from?" That question changes everything. It transforms pain into perspective. It allows peace to replace panic. Think of Joseph in the scriptures. His brothers sold him into slavery. A door closed. He was thrown into prison. Another door closed. But every closed door was guiding him toward the palace. Had those doors not shut, he would never have reached his purpose. Sometimes, God has to let you be thrown into pits so He can lift you to places you could never have imagined. And maybe that's happening in your life right now. Maybe the job you lost was saving you from burnout. Maybe the person who left was freeing space for someone better. Maybe the plan that failed was God's way of saying, "I have a higher one." The problem is, we interpret every ending as tragedy, not realizing that endings are just disguised beginnings. Let's take another example. When you're flying, sometimes the pilot changes the route midair because of a storm ahead. The passengers may not understand why the flight is taking longer. They might complain, "Why aren't we landing?" But the pilot knows he's avoiding turbulence. In the same way, God changes our routes not to delay us, but to protect us from storms we don't even know exist. And sometimes, my friends, the most dangerous doors are the ones that stay open too long. Doors that lead us into comfort zones where we stop growing, stop trusting, stop seeking. God will close those too, not because He's cruel, but because He knows stagnation kills the spirit. He'd rather see you uncomfortable and growing than comfortable and dying inside. So the next time a door closes, don't cry over it too long. Wipe your tears and whisper, "Thank you, God, for saving me from what I couldn't see." Because what you think is a detour is actually divine direction. What you think is a rejection is a redirection toward your destiny. Remember, when one door closes, it's not the end of the hallway. It's just God inviting you to walk further, to discover something new, something greater. And if you ever feel uncertain, remind yourself of this: you don't need to open every door, just the one meant for you. The rest will close naturally, because God knows exactly where you belong. And one day, when you're standing on the other side of that perfect door, you look back at all the ones that closed and say, "No, I understand. Every no was necessary, every closure was sacred. Because without them, I would never have arrived here. My dear friends, let's take a moment to talk about something. Every one of us has faced pain. Physical pain, emotional pain, heartbreak, loss, betrayal, loneliness, pain has many faces. And when it comes, we often ask, why me, God? What did I do to deserve this? But the truth is, pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Pain has a purpose. It's one of God's most powerful teachers, the one we resist the most, yet learn the most from. Think about your life for a moment. The times when everything was easy, smooth, and comfortable. Did you grow much? Did you reflect deeply? Probably not. But when things fell apart, when your heart broke, when you failed, when you were left alone, that's when you started to think, to question, to grow, to become stronger. Isn't it strange? We hate pain, but it's pain that shapes us. It molds our character, deepens our compassion, and strengthens our faith. You see, pain is not the absence of God's love, it is often the evidence of His work. A sculptor doesn't harm the stone when he chips away at it. He reveals the beauty hidden within. The stone might feel hurt, but the sculptor sees what it will become. Likewise, God allows certain hardships not to break you, but to reveal your strength, your depth, and your purpose. There's an old saying, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. We can't learn resilience without resistance. We can't learn faith without fear. We can't learn trust without trials. Every struggle we face is like a spiritual gym. It stretches our soul and builds our inner muscles. You might not see the growth in the moment, but each tear, each sleepless night, each disappointment is shaping you into the person you're meant to be. Sometimes pain is not about you losing something, it's about you finding something deeper. Maybe it's your inner strength, your humility, your empathy. Maybe God is teaching you how to rely on Him, not on the world. Because let's be honest, when life is good, we often forget God. But when life hurts, we remember Him deeply. Pain has a way of bringing us back to our knees, back to prayer, back to perspective. Have you noticed how people who have suffered deeply often become the most compassionate, the most kind, the most understanding? That's because pain softens the heart. When you've been through storms, you don't laugh at someone else's rain. You understand, pain connects us. It gives us the language of empathy, the ability to say, I know how you feel. I've been there. And that's how God uses your pain, not only to heal you, but to make you a healer for others. There's a beautiful story about a man who went through immense sorrow. He once asked God, why did you allow me to go through so much? And God replied, so that when someone else walks the same path, you can hold their hand and say, you're not alone. You see, your pain is never wasted. It becomes your ministry, your message, your way of serving others. But in the middle of pain, we often misunderstand it. We think God has abandoned us. We think life is unfair. Yet, when a doctor performs surgery, he cuts you open, not to harm you, but to heal you. The wound is painful, but it's purposeful. Healing often begins with pain. And sometimes, God allows that spiritual surgery. He removes things, people, habits, attachments, not because He wants you to suffer, but because He wants to make you whole. Let's imagine gold for a second. Pure gold is never found shining in the earth. It's hidden within rock and dirt. To refine it, you must heat it in fire. The fire melts away the impurities. The gold doesn't enjoy the fire, but it needs it to reveal its purity. Similarly, God allows us to walk through the fire of pain to purify our hearts, to burn away ego, pride, greed, and fear, so that we may shine with strength and wisdom. You see, my friends, the difference between pain and purpose is perspective. Two people can go through the same trial. One becomes bitter, the other becomes better. The one who becomes bitter focuses on what they lost. The one who becomes better focuses on what they learned. Pain will either imprison you or empower you. It all depends on what you do with it. Let me share another thought. Have you ever seen how a seed grows? Before it becomes a plant, it must be buried in darkness, in soil, broken open, and pushed upward through resistance. The breaking is painful, but without it, there's no growth. That's how life works. Sometimes God buries us not to end us, but to plant us. We think we're being buried, but in truth, we're being prepared to rise. So, if you're going through pain right now, emotional, physical, or spiritual, don't see it as God's absence. See it as His presence in disguise. He's working on something within you. Maybe He's teaching patience. Maybe He's building endurance. Maybe He's giving you a story that will inspire someone else one day. Because the people who shine the brightest are often those who've walked through the darkest nights. And remember this, no pain lasts forever. Every night ends with a sunrise. Every winter eventually gives way to spring. What you're feeling now is temporary, but what you'll gain from it will be permanent. You'll come out wiser, humbler, stronger, and more alive than ever before. My friends, never curse your pain, bless it. Because behind that pain, there's a lesson. Behind that lesson, there's growth. And behind that growth, there's a version of you that's more aligned with God's plan. You might not see it now, but one day you'll look back and say, if that hadn't happened, I would have never discovered who I truly am. So hold on, trust the process. Let pain do its sacred work, because what hurts now will one day heal you, shape you, and guide you to your divine purpose. God doesn't waste pain. Every tear has meaning. Every heartbreak has direction. And when you finally see the full picture, you realize it was not pain after all, it was preparation. My dear friends, one of the most important lessons life teaches us is this: it's not the destination that truly shapes us, it's the journey. We live in a world obsessed with results. We want success, recognition, stability, and comfort. We fix our eyes on the goal so tightly that we forget to value the process that takes us there. But God, in His infinite wisdom, is far more interested in who we become than what we achieve. That's why His plan is often more about the process than the product, more about the shaping than the shining. You see, we humans love to measure life in milestones: graduation, marriage, promotion, achievement. And while these are important, they are not the true measure of growth. The real transformation happens in between those moments. In the waiting, in the working, in the falling and getting back up again. That's the sacred ground where character is built. The process may be slow, sometimes even painful, but that's exactly where God's fingerprints are most visible. Think about the story of a potter. When he shapes a pot, he doesn't rush the process. He takes a lump of clay, places it on the wheel, and starts spinning it. The wheel keeps turning round and round, just like our life, while the potter's hands gently, but firmly, shape the clay. If the clay could speak, it might say, "Stop spinning me, stop pressing me." But the potter knows every spin, every press, every bit of pressure is necessary to bring out its true form. And when it's almost ready, the potter puts it into the fire, not to destroy it, but to strengthen it. Without the fire, the pot won't be able to hold anything. That's the beauty of the process. We all want the masterpiece, but we don't want the molding. We want to stand tall like a tree, but we forget that trees spend years growing roots underground where no one can see them. The deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. Likewise, when God is preparing you for something big, He spends time working in the unseen parts of your life, your heart, your habits, your humility. The process might feel invisible, but that's where strength is born. So many people quit in the middle of their process because it feels hard. We think, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe God has forgotten me. But what if He's actually preparing you through every trial, every delay, every disappointment? What if the very challenges you're facing now are designed to make you strong enough to carry the blessings that are coming later? Because, my friends, success without strength is a burden. You can only hold what you're prepared to handle. Let me tell you a small story. There was once a farmer who planted bamboo seeds. He watered them every single day, but for years, nothing grew. Not a single sprout. His neighbors laughed at him. They said, "You're wasting your time. There's nothing there." But the farmer kept watering. After 5 long years, something miraculous happened. The bamboo suddenly shot up, growing over 80 feet in just 6 weeks. But here's the secret. During those 5 years, it was growing underground. It was building roots strong enough to support that incredible height. Without that unseen process, it would have collapsed in the first storm. That's how God works with us. You might feel like nothing is happening, like your prayers aren't being answered, like your dreams are going nowhere. But underneath, deep inside you, God is building roots, resilience, wisdom, patience, faith. So when your time comes, you won't just rise, you'll stand tall and stay grounded. And here's another truth: the process humbles us. It strips away pride and ego. Because when things don't go our way, we realize how limited our control really is. We learn to rely on God, not just on ourselves. The journey becomes less about achievement and more about alignment, aligning our hearts with His will. That's when peace begins to flow, even when the path isn't clear. Sometimes we look at others and think they have it easy. Their life looks perfect. But what we see is their result. What we don't see is their process. Every strong person you admire has gone through nights of doubt, pain, confusion, and waiting. You only see their mountain peak, not the climb that got them there. So never compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. Trust that your story is unfolding exactly as it should. You know, even in the Bible, every great story has a long preparation. Joseph waited in prison before reaching the palace. Moses wandered in the desert before leading his people. David tended sheep before becoming a king. And Jesus himself lived a simple, humble life for 30 years before his 3 years of ministry. If God allows preparation for His greatest servants, who are we to rush ours? When you start trusting the process, your perspective shifts. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of being frustrated with delays, you begin to see them as divine design. Because sometimes what you call a delay is actually God protecting you from arriving too early. A fruit picked before it's ripe doesn't taste sweet. In the same way, when you arrive at your destination without growing enough, it won't feel fulfilling. The process also teaches gratitude. When you finally reach your goal after struggling, you value it so much more. You respect the effort, the time, the pain that got you there. If everything came easy, we take it all for granted. The process builds appreciation. My friends, life is not a straight road. It's full of curves, bumps, and detours. But every twist has a purpose. Don't rush the journey. Don't hate the waiting. God's process is slow because He's doing it perfectly. A masterpiece takes time. A soul takes time. You are becoming something beautiful, something divine. So today, if you feel stuck, lost, or tired of waiting, remember this: trust the process. Keep walking even if you can't see the destination yet. Keep praying even if the answers are silent. Keep believing even if progress feels invisible. Because one day, when you look back, you'll realize that the process was the blessing, the pain, the patience, the lessons. All of it was preparing you for what was always meant to be yours. And when you reach that destination, you'll smile and say, "No, I understand why it took so long. The journey didn't just take me to my goal. It transformed me into the person capable of living it." That's the beauty of trusting the process. It doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes you. My dear friends, life often tests us in ways we cannot predict. Sometimes everything looks bright on the outside, but inside we are battling storms, storms of fear, confusion, anger, insecurity, or doubt. And in those moments, it becomes difficult to hold on to faith. Our feelings scream louder than our beliefs. But if there's one thing I've learned from watching how God works, it's this: faith must always be greater than feelings. Because feelings are temporary and unstable, but faith is steady and eternal. You see, feelings are like the weather, they change every day. One morning you wake up feeling motivated, grateful, and full of energy. The next day, for no reason, you feel heavy, hopeless, or anxious. If you base your life decisions only on how you feel, you will live like a leaf blown around by the wind, never still, never strong. But when your anchor is faith, you can stand firm even in the fiercest storm. Faith doesn't remove the storm, but it gives you the strength to face it. Let's be honest, when life hurts, our emotions take over. When prayers go unanswered, we start to question if God even listens. When people betray us, we wonder if kindness still matters. When plans collapse, we begin to think, maybe I'm not meant for happiness. That's what feelings do. They pull you into despair, into confusion, into fear. But faith, my friends, whispers something different. Faith says, even if I can't see the way, I trust that God still has one. Faith says, even when I don't feel loved, I know I am loved. Faith says, even when everything falls apart, I will not give up because God is still with me. Feelings are based on what we see, but faith is based on what we believe. Feelings react to the situation. Faith responds to the truth. When Jesus was in the boat with his disciples and the storm hit, the disciples panicked. They saw the waves and felt fear. Jesus, on the other hand, was calm, asleep, because his faith was greater than the storm. When they woke him and cried, "Lord, don't you care that we're drowning?" He didn't scold them for being afraid. He simply asked, "Where is your faith?" That story teaches us something timeless. Faith doesn't mean the storm won't come. It means you know who's in your boat. Let me share something personal that many of us can relate to. Have you ever faced a day where you prayed with all your heart, but nothing seemed to change? Maybe you felt betrayed by someone you trusted. Maybe you lost something dear to you. A person, a job, a dream. You cried and deep down you whispered, "God, are you even there?" Those are moments when feelings seem louder than truth. But my friends, that's also when faith becomes the most powerful. Because faith is not proven when everything goes right. It's proven when everything goes wrong, and you still choose to believe. It's easy to have faith when life is comfortable. But the real test of faith begins when you can't feel God's presence. You see, God doesn't always show up in the way we expect. Sometimes He's silent, not because He's absent, but because He's strengthening our trust. Just like a teacher stays silent during a test, not to abandon the student, but to see how well they've learned. The silence of God doesn't mean separation from God. It's in that silence that faith learns to speak louder than fear. Feelings can make you doubt your worth. They can make you think you're not enough. But faith reminds you that your value is not determined by emotion or circumstance. It's determined by the one who created you. Faith says, I may feel weak, but I know I'm strong in God's hands. Faith says, I may feel lost, but I'm being led. Faith says, I may feel like this is the end, but God is just turning the page. You know, I often compare feelings to waves at sea. They rise high and crash down low. If you try to stand on them, you'll sink. But if you learn to surf on them, to ride them with balance and trust, you won't drown. That balance comes from faith. Faith doesn't stop the waves, it teaches you how to stand above them. There was once a little boy learning how to walk with his father. Every time he stumbled, he'd look up, expecting his father to lift him. But one day the father stood still and said, "Walk to me." The boy hesitated, afraid, but the father didn't move. He wanted his son to take a few steps on his own. And when the boy finally did, he reached his father's arms stronger than before. That's exactly what faith feels like. Sometimes God seems distant not because He's gone, but because He wants us to grow in trust. In a world full of uncertainty, we are told to follow your feelings. But the truth is, feelings can be deceptive. They can make you give up too early, say things you don't mean, walk away from something that was meant for you. Faith, on the other hand, teaches you to pause, to breathe, to trust beyond what you feel. It says, don't make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. Because feelings pass, but the consequences of acting on them can last a lifetime. Let's remember something simple yet profound. Faith is not about ignoring your feelings. It's about not letting them control you. God gave us emotions for a reason, to feel, to connect, to experience life fully, but not to lead our lives. Your emotions are indicators, not dictators. They can tell you how you feel, but they shouldn't tell you what to believe. There will be days when your heart feels heavy, your prayers feel dry, and your faith feels weak. On those days, don't panic. Even a flicker of faith is enough to light the darkest room. You don't need to feel strong to be faithful. You just need to keep going, step by step. Because faith isn't a feeling, it's a decision. It's a choice to keep believing even when your emotions tell you otherwise. Think of a mountain climber. The higher he climbs, the thinner the air becomes. Breathing gets harder, but he keeps climbing, not because it's easy, but because he knows what's waiting at the top. Faith works the same way. As life's challenges increase, the air of comfort gets thinner. But you climb anyway, knowing that God's view from the top will make every breathless moment worth it. My friends, faith is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about saying, even though I feel broken, I know I'm being rebuilt. It's about saying, even though I'm scared, I know I'm safe. It's about saying, even though I don't understand, I still trust. That's real faith. So whenever your emotions begin to overwhelm you, pause and remind yourself, feelings are fleeting, but God's truth is forever. The sun doesn't stop shining just because clouds cover it. In the same way, God's love doesn't stop just because you can't feel it. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that the moments when you felt weakest were actually the moments when your faith grew the most. Because feelings make you human, but faith makes you divine. Feelings shake you, but faith strengthens you. Feelings are from the heart, but faith is from the soul. And the soul, my friends, always knows that even in the darkest times, light is coming. My dear friends, one of the hardest lessons life teaches us is this: God's timing is perfect. Not early, not late, perfect. But understanding that truth while waiting for something you deeply desire can be one of the toughest challenges in life. We live in a world of instant gratification, instant coffee, instant messages, instant results. And in that fast paced mindset, we sometimes expect God to operate like a vending machine, press a button, say a prayer, and receive what we want. But God is not a machine. He is a master planner. And His timing, though often mysterious, is always meaningful. There's an old saying: when you trust God's timing, you stop questioning His delays. Yet, let's be honest, waiting hurts. Waiting can feel like silence, like being forgotten. We pray for something, a job, a relationship, healing, direction, and when it doesn't happen when we expect it, we begin to worry. We start to think maybe God doesn't care, or maybe it's not meant to happen. But my friends, delay does not mean denial. Sometimes the reason things are not happening yet is because God is still preparing the stage, not just the external circumstances, but also you. Think about a seed. When you plant it, it disappears into the darkness of the soil. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. But underneath, life is forming. Roots are growing, structure is building. If you dig up the seed too early to check its progress, you kill its potential. Many times in life, we do exactly that. We try to rush what needs time. We dig up our dreams too early because we can't see any movement. But faith, my friends, is trusting that even in the soil of silence, something beautiful is taking shape. God's timing is like an orchestra. Every instrument has its moment to play. If the violin starts too soon or the drums too late, the melody becomes noise. But when every sound aligns with the conductor's timing, the result is harmony. In life, you are one of those instruments, and God is the conductor. He knows when to bring you in, when to let you rest, when to raise your volume, and when to let others shine. The beauty of your life depends not on your hurry, but on His harmony. Many people lose peace because they confuse delay with rejection. But the truth is, some blessings are delayed because receiving them too soon could destroy you. Imagine giving a sharp knife to a small child. It's a good tool, but at the wrong time, it becomes dangerous. In the same way, God withholds certain things until we are ready to handle them with wisdom, gratitude, and humility. Sometimes, God delays a relationship because He's shaping your maturity. Sometimes He delays success because He's protecting your humility. Sometimes He delays an opportunity because He's saving you from unnecessary